Democrats acting like Joe Biden didn't leave President Trump a slate of crumbling airports and blaming him for the flight mare rocking Newark. United Airlines is urging people to consider avoiding the airport as passengers deal with hundreds of delays and cancellations. Chuck thinks it's outrageous.
It's outrageous. And it's because of Trump and Doge. FAA has been cut. Employees have been cut. Top people have left in exasperation at what Trump is trying to do. If there's any place where Trump chaos, which is so typical of this administration, can really cause loss of life, it's at the FAA.
But the Duff man is setting the record straight after Joe and company put fixing racist roads over updating our ancient air traffic control system.
They have made no investments in the system that we now see having issues in Newark. On top of that, they were focused on things like racist roads. They literally spent time concerned about the word cockpit and changing cockpit to flight deck. It's not funny. The whole system needs to be redone.
Racist roads, my favorite ice cream flavor. Judge, he makes a great point. Mayor Pete, you can't stop blaming people. He was focused on racist roads. What did Chuck Schumer do? He's been in power for, he's been in office for decades.
I think I counted it once. I think I counted he worked with like 7 presidents.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The Democrats don't get anything done. They spend a lot of money, but they don't do anything. Classic example is the money that they use for the EV chargers. Remember the billions, whatever, and they got 2 chargers done in 4 years. But there was a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill and a package, actually, the largest in history, $5 billion for air traffic control, $1 billion spent on that, but only 20% of it was actually used for air traffic control. So what we've got is the GAO, the General Accounting Office, has been saying for the last 2 years that it's dangerous, it's outdated, they got floppy disks, 51 of 138 systems are unsustainable, and this is all during the Biden administration. They said they had no plan, under oath, to modernize the projects for at least another 10 years. And by the way, Doge did not cut air traffic controllers nor critical safety personnel. That's all.
You know, Leslie, if you see how they're describing air traffic control in the airports, isn't that just a kind of like what you'd expect after seeing the A block? That was your president for 4 years. So would you have crumbling infrastructure despite all the $1 trillion spending bill?
No, because when Pete Buttigieg was in charge of the Transportation Department, as Secretary of Transportation, he hired 2,000 people. Doge has fired. Let's look at, people say, when were they hired? Let's look at who they fired. Specifically, maintenance mechanics, specifically aeronautical infrastructure specialists. Specifically, Doge took people out who are specifically responsible for this type of coordination. They say what happened in Newark, we are seeing an increase in problems. And there weren't these problems in the past 4 years. Since January, there have been 5 significant crashes. That hasn't been since 2009. So if everything happened in the last 4 years and nothing happened during the last 4 years, I'm not buying it. Additionally, because it comes down to 2 things, staffing and equipment. And specifically, they say in Newark, it comes down to 1 copper wire. Pete Buttigieg specifically wanted the 50 airports in the United States that need to have fiber, that need to have internet and not copper, and he wanted those changed. People seem to think that, anybody who is in charge of the FAA can just, and even the president, can just, write a check and hand it off. No, they can't. We have something called Congress that those funds have to be approved with and from. Legislation that has to go through there. So, for this administration right now to blame the former administration, I'm sorry. When it's happening on your watch, and if this were a Democrat, I'd say the same thing. When it's happening on your watch, you are responsible. The buck stops with you. Stop deflecting blame. Show some solutions, specific solutions, so that we can all be safe. I flew into JFK last night, 3.5-hour delay. But I am here.
Thanks, Obama. You said something about 5 crashes being the worst. What did you mean by that?
Since January, there have been 5 significant incidents.
And that's the worst, you said?
Since 2009, yes.
I would like a check on that. Jesse.
Well, I won't be providing that check. But you are right and you are wrong, Leslie. Let's begin with how wrong you are, though. do you agree with me that Axios is not a Republican publication? I'll just answer for you. The answer is yes. Axios blames Biden. Axios says this is what happened. Axios says they moved the air traffic controllers that were overseeing Newark and put them in Philly. And that's what caused this personnel chaos. And they're doing long-time maintenance work on one of the runways. So there's one runway in Newark.
Right.
And I hate to make this about me, but it has to be.
Of course.
I had a 1-hour delay going to D.C. When I came back, 4-hour delay, had to take the train. I'm flying out west in 2.5 weeks from Newark, my home airport. I'm freaking out. So they need to fix this. Duffman needs to fix this. That's where you're right, Leslie. We can point fingers all we want. We know it's Biden's problem, but it's Trump's problem now. And this is like, I would treat this like the pandemic. Emergency powers, Defense Production Act, you just surge everybody there. It's a major airport. People don't care if a Republican, Democrat, if they're 5 hours late to where they're going, they're going to blame Trump. So he needs to fix this. It has nothing to do with my flight to California in about 2.5 weeks. Nothing to do with
They
that.
had similar communication issues in August of last year under the Biden administration.
I had an hour delay last night. The champagne was flat in my Gulfstream.
Can I borrow your jet?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, I thought we had something here.
No. Where am I? Dana!
Yes.
You were shaking your head a lot.
I was writing everything down. A couple things. One, talking to somebody who works at FAA, the one thing I think we need to clear up. So there is a telecommunications issues and a tech problem. That has been going on for a long time. It needs to be fixed. And I think that, just like with Operation Warp Speed, like, let's just warp speed this thing.
Warp speed it.
Get the Doge guys over
that
there
worked
to
out
say,
well.
here's the technology. Well, yeah, anyway. But
Choose
we
a
know that
better
it can't
one.
be done because you have to talk about priorities. Did Pete Buttigieg make this a priority? Was Biden ever talking about this?
No.
No. Like, what were they talking about? Trains were one of the
Bike
things.
lanes.
The great thing is about Sean Duffy. Do you think this guy can manage? They have 9 children. He can manage a lot of things. So he's going to be able to do that. I'm going to say something, though, that hasn't been said yet because that would be providing some new ground. We have started privatizing space travel. I think that the private market could do a better job here. And you could try this with a few airports, like make them smaller ones and then grow it out. And you could figure out a way to have better retention for people with better salaries that were more competitive, that they're not capped out on a government salary. The East Coast is way oversaturated, but we also want to grow. We want an abundant country. We want to be able to travel for work and pleasure. And so I think we have to rethink things and think big, which this administration can do.
That's a great point. Flying is the only experience that progress has left behind. If you think about everything around us, the speed of the technology, everywhere, everything's faster except flying. You're probably right.
Probably.
Maybe. I don't know. I lost interest.
And, in 2017, Trump he had a plan to privatize the air traffic control system.
Yep.
One day.
Good idea.
All right. Up next, manhunt underway after a migrant youth gang beat up cops.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.